Live, more or less, from the sports capital of the world. It's, I guess maybe it's not. I'm Rick Rosen with Mark Anthony. This is Good Sports. You know, it always seems like Las Vegas is the center of the world, Mark, when it comes to sports. And we're watching it on TV, like people in Keokuk, Iowa do, and Biscayne, Florida. You know, it's just different. If you're at opening night, and it used to be a little different for baseball. Opening day used to be that special thing, and the Reds always played. And it was always cool in the race and sportsbook. It's not quite the same thing, but for football, you know, the king of the roost there. And tonight is opening night. The Steelers and the Patriots, and the Patriots are having their ring awarding ceremony. Yeah, two AFC teams. You know, the Steelers got forced into the AFC or AFL at the time of the merger, and so these two they have a whole lot of Super Bowls between them. Been a whole lot of Super Bowls. There have only been 50 Super Bowls, and they've got somewhere like 10 Super Bowl wins between the two of them, and I think they've got 6 losses in the Super Bowls, Mark. So that's a pretty good chunk. You know, I mean, we're approaching. I think that's well over 25% of the Super Bowls have either been won by or played for by either the Steelers or the Patriots. So yeah, you know, it's a great opening game. The NFL not wanting to play nice and didn't do any. The commissioner's not going to be there because Tom Brady, as I said months ago, and you need to attest to this, they're not going to suspend Tom Brady. He's not going to serve a minute of suspension for this taking the air out of the damn balls, you know, and it's much ado about it. And the judge gave them a chance to save some face, and Brady was willing to take a 1 or 2 game suspension, you know, at max. And the NFL didn't want to do it, and so Goodell threw all his eggs out there, and I think his value to the NFL is diminishing as we speak, Mark. I think Roger Goodell's a done deal as far as commissioner of the NFL. He's now the last few days he's had to agree to give up most of his authority as the final say so on discipline in the NFL because how bad he screwed up. Not just this thing with Brady, but do you realize that he gave out the same suspension to Tom Brady that you get for using steroids in the NFL? And people said, wait a minute. Now, you know, I saw a guy getting a parking ticket, and then I saw another guy getting a DUI and running down some poor homeless SOB crossing the street, and they got the same fine. There's not people see that's 2 totally unrelated things. So the repercussion should be different, and they weren't. And for the same brain, and I use that term loosely, I guess, that came up with 2 game suspension for Ray Rice, Colcocking his babe in the elevator, and then playing, well, we didn't see all the film. Why not? Everybody else did. Shit, it was up on YouTube. You know, welcome to the 21st century. Yeah. It wasn't like it was well hidden. You know, so I think Roger Goodell, it may very well be a done deal in the NFL, and not a minute too soon, you know. Yeah, I think they need to. I would really like them to get not an attorney.
You know, to stay within the NFL realm here and kind of get off the whole Deflategate bullshit. One thing I wish people could experience is the sports book during football Sunday or football Thursday.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
or Monday night football.
Yeah. You know, especially in like the Wynn or the Bellagio, where you sit in those big old leather recliners, and you got 90 different screens up there, and you've got the audience going, and you got the pretty cocktail servers, but just that is the coolest way to watch a football game. I think even if you did not like football, you could sit there and watch a football game.
I think we should do a Sunday at the Wynn, and then, you know, with our friend Johnny Avello, race and sportsbook director at the Wynn, and then go to Caesars, where I used to have the show, and then go to the Hilton, where they do such a great job over there, and our friend Kelly Downing is the assistant there, and go around to these places, Mark, and see there is noticeable difference. Some places have an East Coast lean, some places are everybody's everything, and some places have a West Coast bias. it's almost like sports bars. You'll drive by and see home of the Raiders or Cleveland Browns or the Jets or the Giants or whatever. A particular bar hosts those fans on game day. And it's kind of the same way in the race and sports books, Mark, but it really is. I mean, if you look at what people can enjoy this entire weekend, we are having the opening of football season. Okay. And you can wager on it. And that's what made the NFL. So this is where you do that legally. And by the way, what's going to be wagered here in Las Vegas, here in Nevada, legally on the NFL is an absolute one beer's worth of pee into the ocean, comparatively speaking, to what's actually wagered on the NFL across the nation, across the world now. We play a game, they play regular season games in Wembley Stadium in London. And so you can get action. William Hill, the dominant race and sportsbook operator here in Nevada, certainly started out there in London. Good old jolly old England. And so you can get action on damn near anything. And that's cool. It helps. If you got action on it, you're interested. You watch till the end. Guys that got $1,100 to make 1,000 riding on the outcome of a game, rarely, if ever, fall asleep in their chairs unless they just don't need the money anyway. But yeah, you see some real characters and some real. You would swear you were watching a life or death thing on. On a reality show, and it's schmucks betting sports. So.
It's
by the way, would you like to? Do you have any idea what we like here? It was the. I will tell you the three. Was the Jets, and I don't have the paperwork right in front of me. The Jets was one of the games, and then the over on the Monday night game, the Vikings and the Niners over 41.5. Team of that 3-team parlay, I believe, was the Broncos. So it's Broncos and the over in the Vikings. And how you do this, folks, is you take the 3-teamer, and if you hit the first two, if the Jets and the Broncos cover, and you buy back all the money that you're in with a wager on the other side of what's on the third team of your 3-team parlay. And you're guaranteed no worse of breaking even. And if you can do that, if you can absolutely positively avoid giving them any money every time you bet, and all you do is win or break even as long as you hit the first two out of a 3-teamer, it's how you make money. You're not going to make a great deal. You're not going to put your kids through Harvard, but you're also not going to be eating out of the dumpster behind Wendy's either. Yeah. So that's how these systems work. But you have to have, people do this with their heads stuck squarely in their ass and lose. And if you grab hold of your ears and give a good tug, and use your observational skills, you'll see that there are some things that are a good bet, a decent bet where you've got a fighting chance, and there are some things that are just asinine to even attempt. So don't do it. Don't give them your money, or just give them your money. Wear and tear on the guy's carpal tunnel that has to write the tickets and do all that stuff. So, but anyway, Steelers and the Patriots kicking off what will obviously be a very long season. It ends in February. And and so, injuries are going to play a huge part. And they muck with fantasy football, another way of betting, where people wager much more on fantasy football than they do legally here in Nevada, on all things combined. I mean, what a shame. They're legalizing marijuana everywhere because of the rest. They don't see that. Why don't you legalize what they're already doing? Where do they think people are doing? Hopping on planes and flying out to Vegas on Friday afternoon so they can get a bet down for the Saturday college and the Sunday pros? That's not what's happening. They're going down to the donut shop or the gas station or the bar or whatever, and they're betting, or they're calling a guy that, I know a guy who knows a guy, and the money wagered is enormous. Nobody pays taxes, nothing, So I guess it is a tax on the poor because, again, if you don't treat it like a business, if you don't do some homework on it, it's going to eat you up. But so I suppose it's not just football, but because people bet, everybody's a frickin' expert. What always makes me laugh, Mark, and it probably happens more in baseball than anything else, but you'll see these guys. Here's the sheet from the NCAA sheet, and it gives you, I don't know if you can see this plainly enough, but I'll hold it still. And I mean, from side to side, those are little columns of stuff. Wins and losses, ATS is against the spread, over and under, and allowed, and scored, and yardage, offensive yards, defensive yards given up, turnovers, the entire shooting match there. So you'll get guys that'll come in and they will have discovered something that they hit on something that worked one time. Well, I was holding a beer in my left hand, and it was a Wednesday afternoon, and I remember clearly there was a full moon just rising up, and I bet on the team that did such and such, so they think, okay, I've discovered a way of printing money. And so they will come to you with every cockamamie stat that you can possibly imagine to justify betting on something. Honest to God, flip a coin. It doesn't really matter which side you take. One of the prevailing theories, which I subscribe to, Mark, or subscribe to, is that when the line moves, it's moving from where they want it. So somebody's getting the best of the deal now, and somebody's getting a worse deal than they had a few minutes ago. If you bet on something at 5 points and it moves to 5.5, okay, you no longer get a push on 5. So there are no, when that hook is in there, that half a point is in there, there are no draws. It's win or lose. When a line moves, it's easier to move the line from 5 to 5.5 than it is from 5.5 to 6, and especially with a number like 6, they call football numbers, 7, 10, 4, all those numbers that can come up in a football bet have to be factored in. So it's again, everybody has a theory. Guys that bet baseball. You've got now the good teams are playing good and the bad teams are playing. Why do we want to win? We're going to get a worse draft pick. Let's play the youngsters and see who can play, and we'll let our second baseman pitch the 5th inning. And that's how they go into this last month of the season. Other teams are getting ready and getting their pitching staff some rest, so everybody goes in kind of on a level playing field. But yeah, it's funny here, Mark. You watch the people that will come out of the woodwork. It's almost like the Kentucky Derby. You got 20 really good horses. Nobody has a clue. Not a clue. I don't care who it is. It could be Mr. Thoroughbred himself. It could be D. Wayne Lucas. They don't have a clue. They like their horse. They like their horse's chances. They have a plan. If the plan works, great. They win the Kentucky Derby. If it doesn't work, they're with the 19 losers. There's only one horse that wins. So people come up with these theories. I always bet on brown horses with long tails, and that's just as good as pouring over a racing form with 20 horses in there. And people they're experts for that day. They do the same thing in umpires, which has a small amount of validity to it, Mark. In that, if you go back and say, okay, when this umpire was behind the plate and this pitch, what happened? If you look at matchups as opposed to the Mets are playing the Pirates, those games, comparatively speaking, if you just say, okay, the home plate umpire tonight's game zone this big, where the batters have an advantage, or does he have a strike zone this big, where the pitchers can throw damn near anything, and if the batter's not up there swinging, they're going to strike out looking, and so if you use those kind of things rather than the nonsense that everybody tends to come up with, theoretically speaking, I think you're better off. By the way, speaking of baseball, did you see Joey Votto?
No.
It was Volcano Votto last night. Joey Votto from the Reds didn't some nonsense at home plate, and I haven't seen all the details, Mark, simply because it was kind of buried in some of the things that I was researching coming into the show. But he wasn't arguing balls and strikes, which is almost immediately they toss you out and you go get your money's worth and talk about the guy's mom and go back to the dugout and then go get cleaned up and start on the buffet in the clubhouse before everybody else gets there. This was different. Joey Votto was about, maybe a millimeter away from the umpire's face, and spit was flying and stuff was going, and he bumped him a couple times with his nose. Joey Votto got suspended earlier in the year for bumping but an umpire. You can call them whatever you want. Okay, they're not going to like it, and you're never going to see, you're never going to get a good shake from the guy. They're humans. Joey Votto's probably going to have a pretty decent extend into next year. If he appeals or whatever, it would be to start the next season. And I don't know what happens if a guy retires or something like that. Maybe they make one of his teammates serve the suspension. But anyway, Joey Votto just went way over the. And he got run for something. He got tossed from the game for something that he didn't agree with. And when he went to get his nickel's worth, well, he got his nickel's worth, and the guy on the end of the bench's nickel's worth, and the popcorn seller's nickel's worth, and and he got a whole bunch of nickel's worth. But it's really, you got to watch it. There's stuff just flying out of his mouth, at the umpire, and he just kind of stands there and takes it. He didn't wipe it off, which. A little gross, but I guess he didn't want to give him the satisfaction. But it was interesting. By the way, Serena Williams. What do you think of the Williams sisters, Mark?
God bless them. I mean,
more.
Yeah.
God hasn't blessed them enough. You're asking for more. Okay, go ahead.
Well. At this point in their career.
Yeah.
They've won everything that can be won. So now they go up against each other, and the one sister can win the Grand Slam if she beats the other sister, and they both go home either way. So it's like, which one do you think is going to win?
Well, they've had that turnaround, Mark, and here's part of the conundrum older of the two. Serena. Against, and so Serena's game was bettered because Venus made her better. Well, in the time Venus was making Serena better, Venus had no idea was playing. She had somebody worse than her, so her improvement was not near as what Serena Williams got out of the deal because she got to play against Venus, and so it's a little grasshopper. Now the pupil is beating the teacher. And Richard Williams, I think the guy's going to be in the Jerk Hall of Fame. Their dad, these two young ladies, were born and bred to be tennis players. That was his idea before before his wife was pregnant with either of them, that he was going to have his children be pro tennis players. He saw the business part of it, and so I don't know. I think it might make for some awkward situations at family get-togethers. Okay, here comes the ATM sisters, get out of the way. So I don't know. I just think I don't think I would appreciate it. That's that's the main reason you got me here, not because you were so interested in having a family and doing all those kind of things. I'm gonna have girls that are gonna make us rich. Okay, well he succeeded, so you can't really argue with his success. But I think a lot of people think that Richard Williams is not anybody you really should emulate. And my God, he's got two of the greatest tennis players ever that he brought in front.
But now I'm married into a family. Okay, I don't have kids of my own. My wife's got kids and she's got grandkids. All right, one of the grandkids plays soccer. All right, so we got to go and watch. So we got to go and watch these kids play soccer. And 99% of these kids are playing soccer because that's what mom and dad want them to do. They're not there because they enjoy the sport. They hate the fucking sport. But mom and dad say, okay. And, it is that stereotypical where you see the parents getting so irate because he missed the kick or, it's 90 minutes of watching paint fucking dry. Okay, first of all,
I got
second
you.
Of all,
I'm with you there.
These poor kids are like, make me learn algebra versus this, please. I'll do anything you want, but play fucking soccer.
Yeah, I'm with you. Give me a Barbie doll. If I'm going to do something like that, I might as well have fun with it, not get all sweaty out there in the sun. Well, I think the bad thing about soccer is, at least from my aspect, kids stand around and are never part of any play that results in a score. If in a football game, if you throw a block that springs a running back, you're just as happy as he is. Oh my God, I did my job well and our team scored or whatever. I just don't see that at least in youth soccer. I mean, there are some well-coached teams and this and that, but by and large, what I have witnessed, you know, it's like T-ball for older kids too. I think there's a quicker separation of the cream rising to the top in soccer. You know, anybody that has a great deal of athletic ability. You look at Lionel Messi. I think he would be a tremendous baseball player. He's got such great hand-eye coordination or foot-eye coordination or whatever you want to call it. He's just an amazing individual athletically. And he's such a standout in soccer. They don't get the cream of the crop athletically. You know, guys like LeBron James and Kobe Bryant and Kevin Durant and on and on and on are playing in the NBA. They imagine the dominance that a guy like LeBron James would have in most any other sport except maybe as a jockey. But I mean, so I don't think soccer gets the cream of the crop, like I say, as far as what they have coming into the sport. And so and an athlete stands out a little more. And as the athletes stand out more, the people that don't do anything stand out even more because they're just not, they're standing there next to somebody wearing a different colored jersey who's standing there. So that's what I see.
Well, my whole rant was just focused on the parents, not on the sport, because, you know, like Serena's dad, you're going to be a tennis player no matter what, and you're going to make me rich. Yeah. And there's parents on the sidelines, you know, I see this at every soccer game. These, you know, these parents are like, you know, you got to get better. He's 7 years old. He just got out of freaking diapers. Okay. You know, he just discovered he's got a wee-wee. Okay.
You're stealing all his self-worth because he missed a kick or so. Yeah, you're right.
He's not going to be Michael
Parents screw up so much in youth sports. It is incredible. And, you know, I've been guilty of it too, except I kind of took a novel approach when my son, Jim, we were in Colorado, moved back from here to way in the hell up there in the mountains of Colorado. And so they had a basketball league and Jimmy was playing. And the coach, I've seen kitty litter with better idea of what to do with the basketball or how to coach a basketball team. And so it was so frustrating. Jim and I came up with a solution. Dad would go sit behind the other team's bench. And that's what I did. I sat behind the other team, and I was all over the referee and all over the coaches and all over whomever. I never picked on the kids. They're kids, but they weren't being coached correctly. So if the referees would screw up, you know, they'd say, "Oh, this asshole sitting with Smith's Pharmacy," and we were not Smith's Pharmacy. My kid played on, you know, Joe's hardware store, so it was pretty cool that way, and we always kind of had a good laugh about it. But yeah, you know, I've had people look around like, "Who is this guy? Who's he related to on our team?" I don't remember seeing him at any of the practices, and then I would walk off with the other team. So, you know, got to do your part, man. You know, at least I knew my limitations, and I got out of the way. But yeah, when I was the commissioner of the NYFL, Mark, the parents were such a big pain in the ass, and you know, they just try to. Nobody really seems to want to do the right thing for the good of all the kids, and nothing's going to be perfect. But we had a situation, Mark, and this is how stupid it gets. We had a situation where a young man had slipped through the cracks, and he was on an 8 and 9-year-old. Yeah, he was on an 8 and 9-year-old team, and he was 10 years old and almost 11. I think he turned 11 during the season. And somebody had used his old registration form instead of getting the new one. They were just switching the information and wrote his birth date down. And so third game into the season, this kid was big. And he was smacking around them little 8-year-olds. And by this time, I think he was 11 years old. Well, that 3-year gap, if you think the difference between a 6th grader and a 3rd grader is what we're talking about, it was no contest. And he was hurting kids and whatever. And so they brought it to my attention. You know, I couldn't watch every game. And they brought it to my attention. I went and checked it out and said, okay, this is, you know, we can't do this. And one of the dads was an attorney. And you can't take this kid off, and I'll sue, and I'll do this, and I'll do that. And I said, well, we'll figure something out. But, you know, this is getting hurt because this guy happens to be on your team. Well, they relationships and whatever, and you can't do that and blah, blah, blah. And so I thought about it, Mark. And what I came up with was, okay, I went to their team and I said, all right, here's the deal, folks. I said, you don't want to lose this young man off your team. He's an integral part of your team. The friendships that are formed are going to last lifelong. I said, so because we can't have all the other teams don't want to play against an 11-year-old. But you folks are okay with 8 and 9-year-olds playing against 11-year-olds. What I'm going to do is move the entire team up to the 11-year-old division. And then there won't be any problem. Oh my God. You'd have thought I had just taken the firstborn male off of every family in on this team. What are you talking about? I said, wait a minute, let's go through this. Let's think about this. Other people aren't cool with playing against kids older. And you guys are. Okay, fine. We don't want to break up your team. You want to keep the team together? Great. You don't want me to move this kid off your team to the team that he should be on? Okay. Then you have to. Then the only way I can be fair to him and everyone else is to move everybody up. So it took about 3 minutes for the vote to be final, and sure enough, the kid went to the team, to where he belonged, and he wasn't near as dominant. He was an okay player, but he was just big. But those are the things that you have to deal with, Mark. And I would imagine not everybody comes up with those kind of solutions. And you get coaches that think they're on audition to be on a Super Bowl winning coaching staff, and nobody gives a damn. I used to, my favorite coaches were the guys that taught these kids, and I didn't care how crappy they looked like at the first of the season. I would measure how they looked like mid-season and afterwards and go to their practices. And if coaches were working on basics, great. I had a coach ask me, he says, I don't know what else to do. I said, where's the rule book? Well, I don't have one. I said, well, you know what? How about if I bring a Monopoly game out here and just set it down there and tell these kids to play? We won't give them the rules. We'll just tell them to play and see how that works out. I said, that's stupid. If your kids aren't, teach them the rules of the game. Maybe you'll find something that will. And sure enough, and the guy was just kind of, cocky until I said that. And then once I supplied him with the rule book, and once I would go to their practices, and he would have everybody sitting down, and he would go over page by page, and here's the rules, and this is why. And then he would kind of explain, this is why they call the sideline the 12th man. Because it makes tackles just as sure as anybody who chops somebody at the knees. You step out there, you're out. The game, that's the tackle. The guy went out of bounds. So, it is tough to deal with the parents. If it was just up to the kids, you could damn near let the kids ref. And okay, that wasn't cool, and let's do that over or whatever. But yeah, you're right, Mark. It doesn't matter what sport. No. I've seen people bitch about crow about their team winning a T-ball game. Said, honest to God, we've got kids running the bases backwards, and you're wanting to be proud about a victory. Be proud about progress. Be proud that your kid is out here getting fresh air and running around a little bit and having fun, and then picking daisies up out of the grass or whatever the hell they're doing out there. They're having fun. They're playing a game. Why do we need to keep score? And if it had been up to me, we would never have kept score in our youth football league. We absolutely would not have. That's not what it's about, winning and losing. But they a lot of people live so vicariously through their kids, and I think you're right. That's why they take them into soccer. Here, I sucked at soccer. You go out there and be good, and then they expect much more from the kids. Well, they came from you. You're the oak tree from which that ache fell. So if you wasn't worth a damn, why would you think your kid would be? Was it just bad coaching that made you such a putz, or is it genetic, or whatever the hell it is? Don't expect miracles from your kid. Those things they only happen on TV. They don't really happen. You see guys you see kids when they're 8 years old, and this kid's going to be a stud. This kid's going to be, playing more football than just high school. He's got this great potential. So, speaking of that, the potential, Mark, Bryce Harper from Las Vegas played for Tim Chambers out at College of Southern Nevada, first pick overall, somewhat thought of like LeBron James is to basketball. People talked about Bryce Harper. He was their prodigal son, and sure enough, Bryce Harper's probably going to be the MVP of the National League with the Washington Nationals, even though they have suffered a pretty disastrous collapse towards the last month or so of this season. Certainly not Bryce Harper's fault. He is the heart and soul of that team, and he plays about as hard. It's tough when you got a guy that's athletically gifted anyway, and then they play hard. They compete harder than you do. You got no shot at beating them. It takes a fluke. It takes a meteorite hitting at the 50-yard line if you're doing football, or something amazing happened there around second base for it to matter. Because you got a guy that plays that hard. He is the MVP, and I think he deserves it. And I think Chris Bryant has a real shot at being the National League Rookie of the Year with the Cubs. And so it's a pretty darn good time to be talking baseball in Las Vegas. And Matt Williams played at UNLV. He's the manager of the Nationals. And they have a press conference after every game, Mark, and we see it at Basketball USA and the things we cover. Once the event is over, then you go get to talk to the coaches and ask them why you did this or what happened there or whatever. And the Nationals have a system where they let season ticket holders who pay extra can come to the press conference, and they get to sit there and watch the guys sweat a little bit and answer questions with very, very cliche answers for the most part. And Matt Williams was there, and the people started booing him when they introduced him. He got up and walked off. And so I don't think his tenure is, these are, once again, people that not only pay for season tickets, but pay extra. And they voiced their vote. So, but anyway, and the big controversy, Cespedes with the Mets now, came over from the American League. So he's only played half or thereabouts of the season in the National League. But his numbers and the things he's done for the Mets, what they were doing before he got there, I think they were in the bottom 2 or bottom 3 mark of offensive stats of runs scored per game. And now they are number 1 since he arrived. I don't know. How do you define most valuable? It's not highest paid. It's not best looking. It's not, woman. It's most valuable. I don't know how much more valuable you can be than to take your team from the worst to the first by just showing up. And in baseball, you don't have to swing the bat to impact the ball going out or going into the outfield or being a hit or whatever, because batters and base runners work together. So they might work on a pitcher simultaneously. And so that really seems to be what's happening. So that's going to be a bit of the controversy, Mark, as we head into the playoffs for baseball. I think Bryce Harper's going to win the National League MVP, but I think realistically speaking, Cespedes should certainly get some consideration. And I think you get to vote for 10 or something like that on your ballot, some asinine number like it's a Republican primary or something. Anyway, yeah, you get to do that, and I'm sure they'll be named 1 and 2 and 2 and 1, and some people will leave Cespedes off completely because of this. Baseball has so many damn unwritten rules. If somebody just wrote them down, they'd look at them and say, "That's a really stupid rule." It's like if a guy throws it, throws a ball too close to you, or a guy hits a home run out and he takes too long rounding the bases, or he smiles at his girlfriend up in the stands, and then the next guy up gets hit with that baseball, which is a deadly object. And so they have some unwritten rules that I don't think any other sport has that many. So anyway, but boxing, Mark, I guess we got to close up. Floyd Mayweather supposedly in his grand finale on the 12th, which will put him at 4. Rocky Marciano retired, the only undefeated champion, and he was a heavyweight champion. He retired before anybody could beat him, which is all cool. But that's the record, but the record is not a numerical record as much as he was smart enough to retire before he got beat. I saw Julio Cesar Chavez. He was 87-0 before he had a draw, I think it was, Mark. And maybe 76. Anyway, 76 and 87. He had this enormous, almost twice as many victories as Floyd does in a row. And Julio Cesar Chavez did not duck many. He lost twice to Oscar De La Hoya when De La Hoya was still the nuts. The most viable alternative that they had to Julio Cesar Chavez was Oscar De La Hoya. And Pernell Whitaker got the draw in a fight that he won and was awarded a majority draw out of it. And it was unfortunate. He really and Julio Cesar Chavez beat Meldrick Taylor with 2 seconds left in the fight. Richard Steele stopped the fight because Meldrick Taylor wouldn't answer his questions, and Lou Duva was coming through the ropes. I'll never forget. I was in like the 4th or 5th row back, and they're in the corner, and Meldrick Taylor had absolutely dominated Julio Cesar Chavez. And 12th round, and Chavez, they tell him, "This is it, dude. Your streak is over. Your winning streak is done. You cannot score enough knockdowns in this round to beat him on points. So you're going to have to knock him out." And Julio Cesar Chavez did everything he could. Man, and Meldrick Taylor was fighting back, but on his bike and getting away. And Chavez got him in the corner, and there was like 10 seconds left, and Chavez hit him with a good combination, and Meldrick Taylor went down to a knee, and as he got up, Richard Steele brushed off his gloves and said, "Are you all right?" Well, Lou Duva was already coming through the other corner to celebrate. He knew they'd won the fight, and he was coming through, and so Meldrick Taylor cocked his head like this, and he was looking at Lou Duva, and Richard Steele said again, "Are you all right?" And Meldrick Taylor didn't answer him. He was looking at Lou Duva. He was fine. He could have got. There was only two or 3 seconds left in the fight. He wouldn't have got hit again. And Steele asked him, and he didn't respond. He stopped the fight. And so, the conspiracy theorists just went nuts. It kept intact that winning streak. But yeah, it was. I'm almost positive, Mark. It was 76 before the draw and 87 before a loss. So. Floyd's got some more fighting left to do before he's the official record holder. Nobody's gone undefeated and got out except Rocky Marciano. So Floyd says he's not going to break it. He's not going to go to 50-0. Yeah, he's not. Oh shit! You can't give them tickets away. And that's rightly so. And you can't sell a pay-per-view. $74.95. Are you out of your frickin' mind? For Floyd Mayweather to not get hit. Watch Floyd dance around. It's great if you're a boxing aficionado, appreciate the sweet science of boxing. But honest to God, I really would rather watch somebody lick the glue off of a stamp than watch Floyd not get hit. It's a fight. It's boxing at its finest, but it's not a fight. And nope. it's the Toreador and the Matador and the Bull, and that's what it's going to be. And Berto has lost, I think, 4 of his last 6 fights, and handpicked, and he's got no shot. I have just as good a chance against Floyd Mayweather than Andre Berto does. It will take enormous.
He's just there to cash a check, which is what I do.
Oh yeah. Oh well, he's going to be part of history. Listen, that's the deal. Here's the 49-0. Now, I don't think not going to ego up and go to 55 or whatever it is, but I'm telling you right now, the speed guys, that's the first thing that goes. So. I think Floyd's more interested in the 0 than who's on the record. I was very surprised that he fought Manny Pacquiao for that very reason, Mark. And I don't think that thought process has changed. I think Floyd got backed into a corner and it came out real well for him. It worked out, a couple. What did he make? $1 billion for that fight where he didn't get hit. I think Manny sweat on him a little bit, but that was about it. And so the world of boxing, the historic 49-0 fight. It will make Floyd 49-0, tying Rocky Marciano's record, but not the record streak. And the Boxing Expo, Mark, at the convention.
Boxing Expo.
Cool thing. It's to a casino, and so I think that makes it more accessible to people. They just feel a little comfortable, a little different than when it's at a casino. And I think there are some benefits to being at a casino. We talked about the atmosphere at the games and those kind of things. So I think you lose a little bit of that to have it in the convention center, although they have been some tremendous, including Muhammad Ali. A lot of real famous people started fighting at the convention center before there was the Thomas and Mack. I mean, they had the fights at the Silver Slipper. Bally's came along, they had fights there. But the convention center was the host of a lot of fights before we had so anyway, it's about it, Mark. The Boxing Expo is going to be phenomenal. The number of people that are there. Yeah, and that is Saturday, and it's before the fight. And then, of course, the Run the Rebels play Saturday night, playing UCLA. And I'm not quite sure whether he's a cousin or a nephew, but I know we're related, and that's Josh Rosen, the quarterback for UCLA, who I don't believe is going to play his senior season, probably not his junior season at UCLA. He looks very polished for a pure freshman. I mean, he really did look the part of a not 6 months out of high school doing what he did last Saturday. So if he keeps that up, I think you're going to see somebody. You're going to hear. There's only 11 games or 12 games, Mark, and you're going to hear the Heisman crap immediately, if not sooner. And he's going to be mentioned until somebody supplants him, until somebody throws for 490 yards and runs for 3 touchdowns and sells popcorn at halftime or something like that. I believe he's the front runner. So, it's good that he plays in a major media market. There are no pro teams to take the spotlight off of him in Los Angeles or Pasadena. Our friends Michael and Christopher Flock are out there covering UCLA, and from all reports from them, this guy's the real deal. What I saw in that game, Mark, it was pretty special watching him. So,
all right.
What about your Vikings, man? The Vikings Monday Night Football. What do you think? Doubleheader on Monday night. What do you think about your Vikings and your boy Adrian Peterson? Is he going to have a season like he's had before? Or I think he's prone to injuries. I don't think he's going to make it through the season, but what do I know?
No, well, the Vikings are going to be, I mean, come on, the Vikings. These guys would screw up a one-car funeral, all right? That's just okay. Peterson is going to probably get taken out on the first game because, well, that's what's going to happen, and then he's going to sit on the side.
He got hurt in training camp.
$1 million.
Yeah, he got them legs. He got hurt in training camp. He's had all the off-field nonsense with the child abuse and all that kind of stuff. It wears and tears on a guy. People say, "Look at the money." Yeah, look at the money. He would be passing up to retire or get out or whatever. Yeah, but he already got the money. It's not like that would be the first $1 million.
This year they play outside, and so sunshine, fresh air. They don't know what to do with that. So
welcome home.
Yeah, it's like, ooh, it's going to be cold out there.
In the old days caught a whole lot of people that could play some real good football, but cold. And I played in the cold. I'm from Colorado. I played in the cold before, but you got to be a real man to play in that frigid cold. Be more prevalent in Minnesota, and I don't know why, Mark. International Falls, Minnesota. They always have the record. They're in Fraser, Colorado, which is at the top of the frickin' mountain, 1,000 feet or something. So you expect it to be cold. It ain't in International Falls, Minnesota, and that frigidity is just incredible. And I think Minneapolis, St. Paul area, certainly gets their fair share of really, really cold weather. And I think the Minnesota Vikings would have won Super Bowls by now if they just stayed outdoors. They had the greatest home field advantage ever. And Bud Grant said he was not going to install heaters on the benches until they won a Super Bowl, and by golly, he didn't. And those guys used to sit over there, I would imagine it took them 3 days to the bench warmers anyway to thaw out enough to go potty. That's some mighty cold stuff, and so they had an advantage, but boy, they were tough, and I don't think anybody looked forward to playing in Minnesota in December. And so they may get that back, but I think they're a team a lot of holes, Mark, and they kind of got old, and they've got this going and that going and something going against them. And the Niners are no day at the beach either. Jim Harbaugh doing his deal now back at Michigan, and so they've got new this and new that, and man, the police blotter could be filled with just Niners on there for this for the off season, and I don't know, maybe the equipment guys got a way figured out to get the shoulder pads over the handcuffs, but until that occurs, they're gonna be at a definite disadvantage on some of those things. Jason Pierre-Paul, the guy that blew off his index finger on 4th of July, defensive end for the Giants, and he hadn't played football very long and come over from Africa and hasn't played, or I believe he was at least not from America, and learning the game of football and blew off one of his fingers, and now they're having this real problem. He took a physical and he showed him up, and so I don't know what it is. I can't imagine that playing defensive end, that a missing finger is going to make a whole hell of a lot of difference. Ronnie Lott had his little pinky amputated on purpose, and he was a defensive back, and I would think they used as much of their hand as any other position on a football field. And didn't seem to slow down Ronnie Lott. So I don't know if there's more damage to his arm or his, or whatever it is, but you would think just blowing off a finger, as bad as that sounds, wouldn't be the end of a football career. Kind of depending on the quarterback, probably not going to do much for the spiral on the ball, but for a defensive end. So anyway, that's one of the stories that I think we're going to, have to see how these guys can withstand these injuries. By the way, there is help on the our friend Dr. Sicking is working on a football helmet, from what I understand, that's to absorb 75 to 80% of the concussive impact to a head.
Cool.
And I think this could absolutely be in combat sports, in contact sports. And so I'm really looking forward to the developments there. We will obviously post them. Anytime that we get something that's that monumental, we will let all our listeners know. And by the way, it is opening night of the NFL season, and there's the Steelers and the Patriots, and I'm going to sit back and crack a beer and pop some corn and watch the game. And
right.
What are you doing? Are you going to be in a casino, or are you going to watch from home?
I'm going to watch from home.
Okay. You'll get the taste of watching soccer out of your mouth to watch some real NFL football that counts. So.
There we go.
Hopefully that's how it goes, dude. All right, man. Well, folks, once again, we always thank you for listening and helping us out here on Good Sports. And Mark, God bless. Always a pleasure working with you, buddy. And so until next week, for all of us here at Good Sports, God bless. Take care. I'm Rick Rosen for Mark Anthony. We'll talk to you again next week right here on Good Sports. Good night.
Good Sports.